segment of Mind, You, and Food. This is Suzanne Toro, and I want to thank you for joining us today. This segment is brought to you by BeSimply. And today we're going to deepen some knowledge and support around the lungs and the large intestines, things that you can do proactively during the fall season to nourish these regions of the body and prepare yourself for the winter months. And to give a special shout out to our brothers and sisters down under. They have entered into spring season, as I've mentioned, and there's a whole other series of herbal remedies that we can introduce during the spring. Some of these cross over. And the one thing I'd like to mention, and the reason I want to talk about the fall herbs, is that basically through your recipes that you cook with, and then simple tonics, herbal tonics that you take in small amounts, you can just really juice up your system throughout the fall season or spring season. And then this builds really nicely because it's kind of like building a reservoir into the full yang and the full yin season, so that your body can run at its optimal, your mind, your heart, and your soul. And it'll simultaneously bring you into balance where you've been out of balance. So one place that you can start to look is just simple daily things to bring into your food, your regime. So now at this time of year here in the northern hemisphere, the days are getting cooler and shorter, and it's exciting because we can start bringing back some warm cooked foods, and you can have some of these simple things around. So grapefruits are a great source to help your immunity, fight viral and bacterial infections. And so you can have these on hand, and then be sure, if you eat a couple in a week or whatever, to save the skins. You can basically boil these and then put them in warm water. Boil them in water, it'll get warm, and then you'll pour off the juice that's made. And this is great to take on a daily basis on top of eating grapefruit. Now, the one thing to know, and this is why it's beneficial to have, even if you do a short gift consult with me, we can touch base on if you are on prescription medication, what foods do or do not work, or if you're on like chemotherapy or radiation. We want to look at these things because food is medicine and it can have contraindications. The same with herbs. So I really encourage people not to self-medicate themselves without having a consult with someone like myself or another person or me to just take a full analysis of what's going on. And then as you get more comfortable, you'll start to be able to do your own research, but B, you'll also be more attuned to your physical body. So grapefruit's one, if it's works for you. If you're on any anti-parasite medications that have become popular over the past couple of years, these will create a counterindication with grapefruit. So you want to choose one, not both. From there, we have roasted garlic heads. So whenever I roast a lot of vegetables in the winter, it's just an easy way to make a meal that's pretty quick and yummy and nourishing. Then you can save the extra for salads and lunches, wraps, all different ways you can use those roasted veggies. But I'll throw in a couple heads of garlic and either save it and you just push out one clove and eat that, or you can empty all the cloves and blend that with some fresh herbs, a little olive oil, and then you have a nice spread that you can put on toast, bread. You can use it as a base for other blended options, which we'll talk about in a moment. Also, you can make yourself some little teeny shots that you can introduce in the morning time at your first food that you're taking. And that's pomegranates are in season. These are a fun little item to put on a lot of dishes. Super helpful. And you can mix that with some turmeric and honey and balsamic. And basically take a couple ounces of pomegranate juice. You can even throw in some pomegranate seeds because you can munch on those. A quarter teaspoon of turmeric and then add a 1/4 teaspoon to a 1/2 teaspoon of honey. And if you need, add a little bit of water from there, and then blend that all up just with a whisk so the turmeric blends and the honey blends, and then add a splash of balsamic vinegar. And then down the hatch, and you'll have a little pep in your step for the morning time. And that will be really nourishing to your lungs and your immune system and your entire body, actually. And then if you are suffering from a little depression, it'll also shift things for you from the inside out. And then, as I mentioned last week, or actually the week before last, we had a down week because of technical issues, good water. So you'll notice a link below. There's a place where you can register for a consult. I can share all this information with you, give you a little bit more in-depth education if you're interested. And I'm always happy to talk to people and kind of see where they're at and help point them in the right direction, whether I can help them or someone else. So our recipes for this time of year, this week, are carrots. So roasted carrots with turmeric, oregano, thyme, a little fresh cracked pepper, Himalayan salt or sea salt. And then you're going to roast those in the oven. And I'll have the recipes on my site in the next week. So you'll see these listed below. Check back in the next 3 or 4 days and you can get the full details. And then on top, we're going to put a walnut crumble with pomegranate seeds. And that is all mixed together, makes a beautiful dish that you can serve as a side or the main course. You can also do this in conjunction with that, is take some steamed mustard greens. You can also incorporate some spinach. If you haven't worked with mustard greens, I encourage you to step out of your comfort zone. And with that, we're going to take a little olive oil, some chili flakes, garlic from that roasted garlic, put those, a couple cloves in there, not heads, cloves, and then a little grated fresh ginger. You're going to whisk that together, and then you're going to pour that gently over the steamed greens and toss it lightly. You can even use a couple chopsticks to do that. The other recipe that you'll see there is a stuffed chicken breast with carrot top pesto. I'm going to let that be the reveal. And all these will work together as a meal, or you could do them separate, or if this is meal prep, you can make this ahead and put it in little containers so you have exactly what you need. In addition, from there, I've talked about this before, is last week or the last episode I gave you a chest rub, which is really good. If you start to feel that chest close up, remember this is grief. So to really take time to massage in the chest region and all through your body. So in Ayurveda and on the cleanses that I facilitate, I have the clients do abhyanga every day. I really recommend in the winter months to do this for a couple reasons. Lungs is associated with your skin. Liver is also. So our friends down under, you can do this too. And to really get that oil on the system, on your skin, and feel and get comfortable with your body. Notice where you're tender and notice where you're more supple. And those areas where you're tender, just lightly moving the skin, and what's below is the fascia and the muscle. And what will happen is this is where we store our emotions, trauma, by doing daily self-massage bit by bit. And you can do some breath with it, work with it, feeding in some love energy into your system simultaneously, or play some really calm undertones as you're giving yourself the abhyanga. Over time, this will start to lift off those stored emotions, the trauma, and you will start to notice where you store, coupled with using your breath. So, for example, if you're rubbing, let's say take your fingertips right now, walk it across your chest, just to feel where this isn't the oiling process, but you can do this too. And then when you bring the oil in, you're going to basically wipe away, like pull it out. And then you're going to bring the oil up and in towards the heart, from the hand up in towards the heart. With this, and then you'll just move yourself, let it be intuitive. But as you just walk your fingers right now, if you're inspired on your chest, you might notice areas that are tender. those are areas you want to do a little bit extra walking with those fingers to open and stimulate that area. We want to release the grief in this time of year and find joy. So any areas where you're feeling a little bit of tenderness, I'm feeling some in certain areas up on my chest here, those are areas to work, and it'll shift on a daily basis. So this is how you get acquainted with what's going on before it manifests into a greater imbalance. And then the one other part that I want to talk about today is that there's herbal tonics, as I mentioned earlier. You take a little bit each day, coupled with your food and those things. And from there, you're able to really discover how you can support yourself. So Super Feast, I work with them. I've known about them for a long time. I'll include Mason's, an interview I did with Mason for a while back. I'll have to see if he would do me the honors to have another chat. They are just, a company that I'm so aligned with because of their integrity and their way of being. And this is really important at this juncture when we talk about mind, you, and food. When we do things that are in balance and in harmony with our inner code of ethics, the way that we are, that creates an alignment because you feel good about it. Now, some people might say, oh, I can't do that. But think about, like, if you go to a superstore and buy everything really, let's say, cheap, and basically you're supporting labor that's really cheap, and that's actually degrading a whole supply chain of our brothers and sisters in different places of the world. So bit by bit, like I've mentioned here, like in my local area, we have a lot of people that do these like artisan types of foods and so forth. And that's what I consider Super Feasts. They totally are a family-owned business with a deep relationship with their farmers and hold their ethics and their way of being with herbalism. So in the fall, and they're really great about noting what works at the different times of year. And since they distribute from Australia and the United States, they do what you'll hear me cue off, northern and southern hemisphere, because we are actually in different seasons. So you can't just do what's good for down under or in the northern hemisphere at the same time. So what we look to in the fall months for us is that there's mushrooms that are really helpful. We have cordyceps, reishi, Mason's mushrooms is a blend that you can use, and I like that in the morning as a hot beverage. And there's tremolo, which is hydration and beauty. This is great because you can take it internally, coupled with you can put it on your face. So you could do your abhyanga, and then afterwards or while you're doing your abhyanga, you just blend up a little of this with good water, put it on your face, let it dry, and then you can shower with your oil and your face, and you're doing a hydration. Because what can happen during this time of year, spring and fall especially, we get dried out, so we want to hydrate the system. So when you look at the reishi mushrooms, this plant, I'm just going to shine a light on that one, is basically considered a mushroom of immortality. It's a fun, hard mushroom. It looks like a giant ear, and it is going to strengthen your heart, kidneys, lung, and liver. And it also works on all what's known in Chinese medicine, or the 5 Taoist organ systems, is the yin, jing, qi, and shen. And that balances your whole 5 elements. For those of you that aren't familiar with a Chinese medicine approach or a Taoist approach, is that it balances the elements, and that's why during each season you shift what you're doing for your system to stay in harmony with nature. And this will not only support your lungs, but it's going to support that skin too. So it'll help keep the mind calm, it'll strengthen your immune system, it'll improve your sleep and create nice balanced spirit, your inner access. So if you want to learn more about the other ones mentioned, let me know, because we can find out what's needed for you, and I'm happy to have a short call with you to help you along the way and point you in the right direction. Now, I put in here a recipe you'll see for the abhyanga, and you can put that tremolo on the face, and then you can use sunflower seed oil infused with mustard seeds, pine needles, and cumin. You can warm these on low in a crock pot. You can also put them in a cupboard. Now that it's getting a little cooler, it's going to take a little bit longer. That's why I'll use a simple crock pot or a double boiler where you put water in a pan and heat up these just gently. And then it's nice to have this warm oil on your skin, especially during this time of year. It feels so good, fall and winter. So if you're feeling, more isolated, alone, sometimes this happens during this time of year, in the fall and winter months, these abhyanga massages are so beneficial not only to your physical body, but your emotional body and your mental body. From here, I'm super excited. We're going to dive into a conversation with Cadre Scott, and you'll hear me do a little bit further introduction of a little side recording that we did today. And I hope you stick around and enjoy her words, her wisdom, and she's going to do a little live in-studio acoustical song for us. And yeah, it's a special treat for me. So I'm beaming with a bright, big smile. So without further ado, let's dive in with Cadre Scott. So now we're going to transition to our special guest, Cadre Scott. She is a singer, songwriter. She's also my daughter, and that's why I can play her music. I have special rights to play her music. And today we're going to dive in. Cadre's been on a beautiful journey this past year of really stepping into her highest, her best self, as she has called this process. So Cadre, I want to welcome you here.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Well, I want to just start off by asking you about what inspired you to be your best self.
I would honestly probably say my music. It started with me realizing that I wanted to step into like a next point of my career, or at least setting myself up to step into it. And I was kind of realizing like I need to feel 100% every day to be able to show up for myself. So that kind of stemmed it.
What changes did you make to show up for your best self every day?
Well, the biggest thing for me as a girl in my 20s, I was cutting out alcohol. I just started, I stopped drinking. I stopped going out and partying, which there's no problem with doing that. But I just basically put myself on like a reset and kind of started focusing more on nourishing my body, like I said, so I could show up 100% for myself every day. But
And how does that feel? I mean, do you have more energy? What's happening? Like, what's the contrast?
I 100% have way more energy. I sleep well at night, sleep all through the night. I get to bed at a reasonable hour, so that helps. But yeah, I feel so much better, and my brain feels clearer, which helps with writing music for sure. I have more motivation and energy to sit down and like write my songs and work on them, and if I have shows also, I need energy to be on stage. So just all around, I feel better, I would say. Nice. Every aspect of myself.
Any other tips that you've discovered other than subtracting things? What things have you added in?
I've added in, I would say with food, a lot more just real foods, whole foods, vegetables and fruit, which I know everyone says, like, eat your veggies and your fruit, but truly like adding in foods that make me feel good and like I know what they are, less like processed things and packaged things has helped so much too. And that in addition with like getting more sleep and whatnot, just so much more energy I feel.
And how about your moods, your emotional health?
Oh yes, much better, much more stable. I think you, as my mother could attest to, I get a little surly sometimes. You know, I get in my mood swings, as we all do, but definitely I think having more like whole foods and balanced foods and stuff, and I think especially probably the alcohol, or not having that, rather, has just helped me feel more balanced too, all around. You know, I still get moody from time to time, as we all do, which is completely normal. Yeah, I'd be a little weird if I didn't, but I think it's a little easier to manage and to like acknowledge and understand. Like I can kind of read myself better now. I feel more in tune with my body, for sure. So, yeah.
And then what would you say about your mental health? You mentioned a little bit, like not as foggy, but...
Oh, yeah. I definitely just better. I think before, yeah, my brain was always now I've noticed my brain was a little more foggy before, but I think also it was a lot easier to get in, like I would have more highs and lows, you know, and the lows were lower then. I think, like, it'd be easier to dig myself into a hole and be like, oh, I feel this way, and sit like that for a couple days. But now that I'm feeling more rounded and like I said, I feel more in tune with myself and how my body's like functioning, it's a little easier to acknowledge those lows and, you know, let them pass and then hop right back to it and try and do my best to feel good, you know, take care of myself and whatnot.
Well done. And what would you say to others out there if they're thinking about making some shifts in their lifestyle? What are your words of encouragement for them?
I would say just, like, if you're even slightly curious, just try it. Because, like, it's honestly, like, worst case, you're like, oh, this isn't for me. And then you move on and you find out what is for you. Like, I have friends who, you know, tried the same thing as me and it didn't totally, like, cutting everything out didn't work for them. And now they've found, like, with that, you know, balance period or, like, reset period, I call it, now they've settled into a good balance between the two, you know? And for me, it works better just to not have any of it. But I think, if just trying it, in my mind, is like a reset, you know? And then you can find out what works specifically for you, so.
Good. And can you share with the listeners, I'm going to use you a little promo, can you share with the listeners about the cleanse we did as a mother and daughter? 3 weeks of liver balancing this past spring before summer. How did that meet you?
Amazingly, and actually I'm just realizing that is what really kicked off me starting this, because obviously through the cleanse you're eating very simple whole foods and no alcohol, obviously. Yeah, because we did that in February.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
That's when I cut out alcohol, and then once we finished it, I just didn't go back. But oh my gosh, that was special for me because I've done cleanses. You know, obviously you know, but we've done cleanses. I did a few when I was in high school years ago, and I kind of think I met them like halfway, like, you know, because I was like 16 and I was like whatever. But I think this was the first cleanse that I really fully like dove into, and I definitely noticed. Within the first few days, I was like, Mom, I want to eat like this forever, which obviously isn't totally sustainable. Like, I love bread, but yeah, that helped heart, mind, body, and soul, I would say. And yeah, so I guess I would say that if you are curious into living a clean lifestyle, try a cleanse, because I mean, it's like gets you going, gets you started, and it gives you some sort of like, because that's my hardest thing with anything is like, where do I start, you know?
Yeah. And
that helped me totally like grasp how I could live like that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and for the listeners, they're all custom, so it's heart, mind, body, and soul, and it's really replenishing, nourishing, and rebalancing. And sure, you're going to detoxify also. And then if you want to do it with a family member, a partner, your parent, it's really powerful because you'll do some healing between the two of you.
Totally.
And things come up and out, which is awesome. We encourage it, so that's the less that you carry, the better.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you weighing in on that. We're gonna have a special treat here. Cadre's gonna play us a song, but I want you maybe afterwards you could just share. I don't know if you want to share.
Let's do after. I think that's fun. I did that with my friends. I like to see what people interpret it as.
So this is an in-studio live acoustical performance by Cadre Scott, and the song is?
This is Beauty Is, which is on my new album that just came out, if you want to go listen to it. But what makes it beautiful? The way it is, the way it looks at you, the way it lives, the way it feels, the way it gives, the way you call it mine and grasp onto it. But if ill intended, true beauty will fade. Can't be manufactured, not man-made. It's brewed in the soul like a fine wine with a little bit of love and a little bit of time. 'Cause beauty is as beauty does. Only some have that touch. It's hard to find but easy to follow. Beauty is as beauty does until tomorrow. Ooh, what makes it beautiful? The way you love, the way you lift it up, hold it above, the way it seems to shine under your gaze, the way it leaves you walking in a haze. But if ill intended, true beauty will fade. Can't be manufactured, not man-made. It's brewed in the soul like a fine wine with a little bit of love and a little bit of time. 'Cause beauty is as beauty does. Only some have that touch. It's hard to find but easy to follow. Beauty is as beauty does until tomorrow. Ooh, so if you love me, why do you love me? Ask what's on my mind. I think he loves me, must think I'm lovely. Has he taken the time? Louder than words, softer than a smile. Act with true kindness and you'll make my heart go wild. Yeah, you make my heart go wild. 'Cause beauty is as beauty does. Only some have that touch. It's hard to find but easy to follow. Beauty is as beauty does until tomorrow. Beauty is as beauty does. Only some have that touch. It's hard to find but easy to follow. Beauty is as beauty does until tomorrow. Ooh, makes it beautiful to each their own. If you find it, hold it and don't let go. It's hard to find but beauty is as beauty does until tomorrow.
Brava.
Thank you.
And thank you, River, for
I'm
interjecting. Beauty is. We have our pup in the
a
background.
good giggle. Ooh.
So, Cadre, just share a little bit about the song and.
Yeah, so that's Beauty Is. Basically, that song is about what I've realized this year, or, throughout my years of living, that actions speak louder than words, and that beauty is shown throughout what's inside and not through physical looks. And I think I've been figuring that out through my relationships in my life, and I'm stepping into a point where I'm really acknowledging or welcoming in a partner that, sees my beauty for what it really is, my inner beauty, not just focused on looks and stuff, as we all sometimes get caught up in, but yeah, it's
Wonderful. Well, you are a beautiful woman, young woman, inside and out, so really appreciate you being here today. And for all our listeners, thank you for being here. And we're going to exit out with one more song with Cadre Scott. It's from her album, Living, Loving, and Growing. And that's Shine. May you all shine bright and light up the room wherever you might be. Until next time, this is Suzanne signing out with a full heart, a soft gaze, a deep bow, and a namaste. Be simply.